We're ready whenever you are.
Great.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening. I wish I had a gavel. I think it'd be more formal if we were able to gather in our listening session tonight. I'm going to call this listening session of the Montana Public Service Commission to order. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. I am Commissioner James Brown. I am the Commissioner for District 3 of the Montana Public Service Commission. I have the great privilege of having the mining city in my PSC district, and I always enjoy spending time in this historic town. With me tonight, I'm very pleased to say, is Commissioner Randy Pinocci. Commissioner Pinocci represents PSC District Number 1, which is the Great Falls District and runs from Cascade County line all the way to the North Dakota border, all the way south along the South Dakota border, and then the Wyoming border. So Commissioner Pinocci has quite a large district, and we're glad you're here. And I believe, if I'm correct, that you were born in the mining city, were you not?
Just outside Anaconda, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming. For the record, the time is 6:03 p.m. Date is Thursday, August 17, 2023. And we are conducting this listening session from the Butte Silver Bow Public Archives, located at 17 West Courts in Butte, Montana, and by Zoom. We are underneath or on top of, however you'd like to say it, the richest hill on earth. I would just note for those in attendance that if you didn't grab one of these brochures on your way in, we encourage you to do so. It's an explanation of the Public Service Commission and what we do in our jurisdiction. I think you'll find it informative. Tonight's session is to receive public comment in Northwestern Energy's 2023 Integrated Resource Plan, which has been assigned Commission Docket number 2022.11.102. Northwestern Energy's IRP, as it's also known, was filed in April of this year and has been and is available on the Commission's website at https://psc.mt.gov. We encourage you to go to our website and read the IRP as written if you haven't already done so. Please note that this listening session does not, I repeat, does not concern Northwestern Energy's currently pending request for increased rates for electric and natural gas service, which has been assigned docket number 2022.07.078. That is an open and ongoing matter, so we are not taking comment on that matter. I would respectfully ask that all commenters please stay on the topic of Northwestern's 2023 Integrated Resource Plan. I would also remind all those in attendance that the commission does not have jurisdiction to tell the utility what resources it must use to meet its service obligations. Okay, so we have a number of people that would like to comment online tonight. I would just remind everybody that we have scheduled a 2-hour time period for this listening session. So we'll run from 6 to 8. And when 8 comes, we will be adjourning this session. So please be considerate of all those that would like to comment and the amount of time that you're taking in your comment. With that being said, I will now ask the commission's legal counsel, Ms. Amanda Webster, right here to my left, to summarize the docket.
Thank you, President Brown. I'm going to begin with a brief summary of the law on resource planning. Under statutes enacted by the Montana legislature and administrative rules adopted by the Public Service Commission, each public utility that provides electric and natural gas service must prepare and file a long-range plan every 3 years. This long-range plan is known as an Integrated Resource Plan, or IRP. The planning process advances the state's interest in efficient utility operations, efficient use of utility services, and efficient rates. Among other elements, a public utility's integrated resource plan must include an evaluation of the full range of cost-effective means for the utility to meet the service requirements of its Montana customers, including conservation or similar improvements in the efficiency by which services are used, an annual electric demand and energy forecast, an assessment of planning reserve margins and contingency plans for acquiring new resources, an assessment of the need for additional resources and the utility's plan for acquiring resources, the proposed process the utility intends to use and solicit bids for energy and capacity resources, and descriptions of at least 2 alternate scenarios that can be used to represent the costs and benefits from increasing amounts of renewable energy resources and demand-side management programs. The utility must fully explain, justify, and document the data and assumptions it used to develop its plan. If the utility's plan meets the minimum filing requirements established in Montana statute and administrative rule, Montana law does not give the commission the authority to formally reject the utility's plan. Instead, the law requires the commission to review the plan, publish a copy of the plan, allow at least 2 sessions for public comment on the plan, and provide 2 public meetings for the purpose of receiving comment. The commission may comment on the utilities plan. Comments from the commission may not be construed as approval of any proposed resource. Turning now to the present docket, on April 28th, 2023, the Northwestern Energy filed its 2023 plan with the commission. The 2023 plan evaluates different potential generation resources that could meet the needs of Northwestern's electric service customers in Montana over the next 20 years. According to the 2023 plan, the resources best suited to address Northwestern's needs are flexible natural gas generation and long-duration energy storage resources. The plan does not identify specific resources for addition to Northwestern's resource portfolio. Consistent with its statutory authority, the commission has contracted with an independent consultant to assist the commission in evaluating models used by Northwestern to develop its 2023 plan. The commission issued a notice of opportunity to comment on May 26th, 2023, and a notice of listening sessions on July 21st, 2023. Although the law requires the commission to schedule 2 public meetings, the commission has decided to host 5 public meetings on Northwestern's 2023 plan. This is the 4th of 5 meetings. The commission previously held listening sessions on August 14th in Great Falls, Montana, on August 15th in Helena, Montana, and on August 16th yesterday in Billings, Montana. The commission will further hold a meeting this upcoming Tuesday, August 22nd, 2023, starting at 6 p.m. in room 340 of the Missoula College Learning Center River Campus, located at 1205 East Broadway Avenue in Missoula, Montana. The public is welcome to comment at the upcoming listening session, either in person or remotely. To sign up to participate remotely, please contact the commission no later than 5 p.m. on Monday, August 21st, 2023. You may email pschelp@mt.gov or call 1-800-646-6150. As stated in the Commission's May 26, 2023 Notice of Opportunity to Comment, the deadline for public comment on the 2023 plan is August 28, 2023. The Commission and its staff will review all timely public comments when preparing its own comments on the 2023 plan. Mr. President, that includes my summary of this matter.
Thank you. So again, we are here today to list the public comments on the IRP. As a result, this meeting will not have a question and answer format. The Commission and its staff will not be commenting today or answering questions. If certain technical questions arise, I may defer to the Commission's legal counsel off to my left. You just met her. Please be mindful of your use of time so that others have adequate time to comment. Again, we'll have 2 hours for today's session. Comments should be delivered professionally and respectfully. Commenters should please confine their remarks to the specific topic of this listening session, which is again, Northwestern Energy's 2023 Integrated Resource Plan. Before I start the public comment period, just a couple of matters of housekeeping. The bathrooms are out and to the right if you need to use the bathroom. We will start the public comment with those that have chosen to come tonight and to participate in the room. And then once we are done with public commenters in the room, then we'll move to the online commenters. Commission now invites members of the public to comment. When you come up and comment, please remember to speak directly into the microphone right up here. Please state and spell your name and state where you're from. The city, you don't need to identify your actual physical address. Just the town you live. Please also identify any organization on whose behalf you are speaking, if applicable. So we will now begin with commenters in the room. I would invite the representative from Northwestern Energy to kick us off.
President Brown, Commissioner Pinochi. My name is Paul Babb, spelling B-A-B-B. I am the Community Relations Manager for Northwestern Energy. I want to thank you for holding the listening session tonight, and also thank the public for coming tonight to express their views on our plan. I'm here to listen, and that's the only comments that I'll have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Babb, and thank you for your previous public service to the citizens of Butte. All right, our next public commenter, don't be shy. How about you right up here in front? Would you like to kick us off?
I wasn't really ready, but I can. So I'm Beverly Karplus Hartline. That's Beverly Karplus Hartline. I live here in Butte. I'm speaking for myself. The past few days, my husband and I were camping, hiking, and touring in the along the Beartooth Highway and Yellowstone National Park, only getting home at 5 p.m. this afternoon. It was hot, 90 degrees or close everywhere we were, even above 8,000, 10,000 feet. Climate change is happening, and the overwhelming scientific consensus is that human-caused fossil fuels and carbon emissions are major drivers. I was delighted to see the results of the youth climate PACE decided last week, at least at the first level, and I don't disagree. Huge changes are needed in how we produce and use energy to slow and lessen the impacts. Although we humans pride ourselves on being intelligent and foresighted and, excellent engineers and taking care of things that need to be done, our sun sees society and industry proceeding full speed ahead with fossil energy consumption and burning as being analogous to the dinosaurs doing nothing to save themselves from extinction due to the incoming asteroid. It can get about that bad if we continue using fossil fuels the way we are. With that context and the scientific consensus, I was dismayed, surprised, disappointed to see the IRP. Sorry, thank you. I was sorry to see the IRP emphasize continued. I don't mind continued generation. I think it's important. I think we need to start on a serious transition to no carbon, very low carbon energy production, and which didn't happen in the IRP. It is, you know, sort of, I don't know if it's full speed ahead, but it's still going on, producing more carbon intensive generation, and carbon intensive generation is what we should be moving away from. We can continue to use it as we transition. And in terms of what I would like to see Northwestern Energy doing, I would like to see it relying more on renewables. I think the hydropower that it has in the current mix is a good no carbon source. I personally have no objection to nuclear. I think that's a good no carbon source as well. And the new designs can be quite safe. I would also like to see, I mean, cost is a big thing, and a lot of the energy technology Northwestern has to invest in. But we came here from Delaware, and where there was a lot of encouragement and incentives for individuals to put solar, wind, other generation in their neighborhood or in their on their residence or on their house. And I would like to see Northwestern's IRP include encouraging and incentivizing customer investment and maybe even community investment in home and neighborhood grid tied renewables. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, excellent comments. Thank you. Who would like to be next? Don't be shy. Welcome.
Welcome. I'm Bob Worley and I'm a resident of Butte. And I don't normally attend these kind of meetings, but I really like the way Montana Power is doing things today with gasification, also with hydro. And I think we ought to stay away from, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to getting rid of solar panels, batteries, and wind energy. I live in a situation not too far off of the highway where these are all going north. And I watch these blades, these pieces going through Butte on north. I think they might be going into Canada. I understand that blades do not have nearly the life expectancy of what they're telling us, 20 years. And I'm understanding that there's about 7 years of life in a blade. I may be wrong. You guys may know that better than I do, but over the long run, I guess they store these or bury them at a site in Wyoming, and on the wind. On battery generation, I just don't trust batteries either for electrical, for storage, or in automobiles. Basically because of getting rid of or eliminating batteries when we're done using them. I spent a lot of years in the car business, and I watched Toyota build Prius, which I thought was an excellent automobile, and I'd really like to see the automobile along that same stage right now. That has nothing to do with this, however. So, but those are my comments, and like I say, I like the way Northwestern is doing business right now with gasification and hydro, especially. And if anything, probably ought to build a couple more dams. It's probably the least expensive, or the most expensive way to generate electricity, but it's long life and seems to be fairly trouble-free. Also, I understand there's some concerns now or talk about nuclear, and I would like you guys to look into nuclear a little farther, and I can see where nuclear might be another way to go besides wind and solar. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Worley. Good to see you again. All right, who would like to comment next? Who would like to comment next? All right, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Noorjahan Parwana, Noorjahan. Parwana is Parwana from Butte. I'm here as a citizen. I did not prepare any statement. But I've been following what's going on, and I want to support the comments made by Beverly Hartline. I think they were very good. I used to be against nuclear, but after listening to Steve Running and doing some research, I think sort of localized grid using these new generation of nuclear power might be okay. I don't like the idea of introducing more hydro. It's bad for the rivers, it's bad for riparian, it's bad for fish. I'm not against using what's already in place. And as I understand it, we could probably use existing hydro better for energy use without introducing more hydro. Against the use of coal, against the use of gasification. And I think that's all I have to say because I'm not prepared and I have to leave. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parwana. Next public commenter. Please remember to state and spell your name for the record and identify where you're from. Who would like to speak next? Don't be shy. Welcome.
My name is Joan Kresich, K-R-E-S-I-C-H, and I've driven over from Livingston to give my comments. I feel like the plan that Northwestern has put forward is like taking us the wrong way on a one-way street. It's defying everything we know from science over the last decades. And so many things to say about why it's the wrong plan. I'm sure as PSC people, you know that other investor-owned utilities are making great progress with renewable, clean, more affordable energy. Northwestern Energy just slapped all of us, and I am on a fixed income with an enormous rate increase. Wow. All the while telling us they're not going to move toward cleaner, more affordable energy. I mean, we are intelligent. We can put those two facts together. They don't line up. I want to talk for the youth. You heard them, I hope. I hope you will listen to the entire testimony at the Hill trial. I talk to youth all the time. They're deeply discouraged by our failure to move off of fossil fuels, which is what science in concert is telling us to do quickly. And instead, Northwestern Energy is saying we're going to burn methane. Methane is more potent than carbon dioxide. That's a fact. Taking us the wrong direction. Refusing our obligation to young people. It's unbelievable. The other thing, many other things, but I'll stop after this. Northwestern Energy does almost nothing to encourage us to be part of the solution. Other utilities are doing time of use pricing. It's not that hard to teach people, press start on your washing machine at 9 instead of at 6. Does Northwestern Energy do that? No, they don't. They're not asking us because they've got a great system for profit. They build a new generating plant and we get to pay for it, even though we don't want it. So I think this plan is outrageous on so many levels.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kresich. Thanks for driving over from Livingston. Next commenter, please. Next commenter, welcome. Please state and spell your name for the record. You identify where you're from.
Sure, my name's Rich Halligan, PEN, I live here in Butte for 20 some odd years. I just wrote this down now, so I probably repeated the same word too many times or the syntax problems, but we're gonna go with it. I would like Northwestern Energy to deliver reliable energy to Montanans, the plan that they believe is the most reliable to cover extreme emergency conditions that arise in supplying energy to Montana citizens. Don't get me wrong, I'm for phasing out fossil fuels when they can reliably power all our needs. And that's a big when they are reliably powering all our needs. I don't like to get up and talk really, so.
You're doing fine.
We cannot stand down on our most reliable energy fuels until alternative forms of energy production are online and will provide energy above what is needed now and in the future. European countries that have gone full bore to non-fossil fuel energy are now turning back to fossil fuel energy because they could not supply the needs of the people in their countries. China has more coal-fired power plants set to be built in the future than the US has in existence right now. The most good to be done by our climate activists would be to go to China and wreak havoc over there. I am in full support of Northwestern Energy's 20-year energy plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rich. Good to see you again. Our next speaker. Don't be shy. Next speaker. Yeah, why don't you?
Oh, well, I'm kind of concerned about that China comment. My name is Alana Srimzek, and I live part-time in Butte and part-time in California.
Can you spell your name, last name? Right?
Yeah, ALANNA. And my last name is Z like in zebra, RIMSEK.
Thank you.
Ironic, this is just in China may be having more coal-fired plants, but they do a lot more renewable energy than almost anybody else. There was just a new report in the New York Times a few days ago, and basically I was astonished to see how much more generated electricity by solar and wind power is in China versus the US or the EU. It's just, I wish I could show you this graph, but it's double what we do here. So I don't know. Well, first of all, I don't think China's going to welcome us for any sharing at this time, so it's not really a viable option. But I just think it's important to realize that, and they have many more electric cars than we have here as well in America, which I don't know, maybe you've been aware of that, but I certainly wasn't. I found it pretty interesting and inspiring as well. I'd like to say I have not reviewed the whole report. I was given information that we're going to talk about coal and pricing today, so I'm a little ignorant on the whole plan, but I've quickly looked at it, and there doesn't seem to be much community input involved in it, where I don't remember who it was that you talked about the education component. I mean, in California, we have peak pricing, It works really well, and people pay attention to keeping their bills lower. The proposed percentages on pricing seem astonishing to raise the cost of electricity for Montanans up to 54% in the near future. I don't know if I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the RAP analysis was used to figure out how much usage you were planning for. And I believe that includes all the states in the Pacific Northwest as well as Montana. Is that correct?
So not all the utilities are participating in the RAP program.
Okay.
But
So,
Northwestern Energy is
okay.
participating at this.
Well, I mean, there's some pros to that because they're going to be sharing energy if somebody has more and somebody needs it. I mean, that part is great. It's the same idea as communities sharing. You know, if I don't need to use energy, I don't use it. So if somebody else needs it that has a bigger family, they can. I mean, there's a lot of resources. This Butte in and of itself is amazing community as far as can-do attitude. I mean, they've been through, you know, horrible declines and ups, and everybody pitches in and they're amazingly generous. So I think education and working within the community, I think every year, I mean, a 20-year plan is nice in theory. I mean, if Yellowstone blows up tomorrow, we don't care, right? We never know what's coming every day. I mean, now we're full of smoke in the valley again from the fires. So I don't think, I mean, a 20-year plan is great, but they're planning already to buy more parts with, I think it's Avista, is that the correct pronunciation of the company for the coal strip mine purchases happening in 2026. Do we really even know if we need that capacity to be purchased in 2026? Why not try some innovative plans for 23 to 25 with usage and see, you know, what the needs are? Maybe we can hold how much coal we're doing, not add on, certainly. So, I mean, I just think there's a lot that can be added in to this plan that could kind of get back to basics. Does anybody know how reliable the RAP information is? And as it pertains to Montana?
Well, this really isn't designed to be a question and answer,
Oh, yeah,
but I would say it's quite reliable.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we're ignorant, so it's, you know, let's get some
That's fine.
information wherever we can. I understand you can't answer a million questions, but that seems like a basic component to the plan because everything's based on usage, right? So anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments. Next commenter, please. Next commenter. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Next commenter. Raise your hand if you're planning to comment this evening. Well, come on up.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Nordwick, Suzzann, Nordwick. I'm here in Butte, live in Walkerville, just north of Butte. I'm here, I support Northwestern Energy's plan. I would like to see it focused on developing their energy solely for Montana. I'd like to see Montana 100% energy independent state. We have the richest coal, the biggest coal, the cleanest coal in probably the world in our country. And I think we should leverage that and produce and rely on that as much as we can for energy. Climate change science is not a settled science, it's a scam. And if you don't believe that, look at one of the first people they trotted around. She gave a recent interview. She's going to be on again. Was Curry is her name, Dr. Curry. She was at Georgia Tech. I'm a graduate of Montana Tech myself. I'm a scientist myself. Anyway, in 2008, she had done a study and shown that hurricanes were getting worse and worse. And she was flown all over, you know, the environmental people got on board with her and flew her all around, and she was giving her talk. And then some other scientists pointed out some flaws in her research. And she, as a good scientist, did look at that research and went back and revised her paper and realized that she had made mistakes and the hurricanes weren't
getting necessarily worse because of climate change. It was just an anomaly because the climate's always changing. Anyway, she herself, and she was one of the testimonies for the state of Montana on the recent case people are touting. I'm very disappointed in that ruling of the judge, and I think we need better judges in Montana. And I think that we need a better law school in Montana, and I think that we need better lawyers in Montana. And I think there should be options besides that for that. Anyway, I support Northwestern Energy. I think they're a good citizens. You know, they do good for our communities in Montana. They've done, you know, since they've taken over from Montana Power, they've really worked hard to keep their commitment to this people of Montana by providing us good energy and many good jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nordwick. All right, who would like to testify next? Who would like to testify next? Again, I'll just do a show of hands. Whether you intend to provide some comments this evening.
Say one more thing.
Yes, but briefly, please.
Richmond Halligan. I lived in Chicago before I moved out to Montana back in the 90s, late 90s. And for the last 2 years I was there, we had rolling blackouts because the energy company did not supply reliable energy. I don't want that to happen to me here. I want to go with a plan that Northwestern Energy has said will provide that reliable energy. We can't look to California as their plans, because right now they're telling people not to charge their cars after work because they can't supply the energy for that right now. They're also developing a bill so that they can take energy out of your cars while they're plugged in at your house in case they need to use it somewhere else. So they could drain your entire EV because they want it somewhere else, that energy. So please don't look to California for making Montana that way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Again, this is your hold on, please. This is your opportunity to comment this evening for anybody who hasn't commented that's in the room. Please don't be shy. You came tonight. We'd love to hear from you. We'd like your input. That's the purpose of tonight's session. Is there anybody in the room that has not commented, would like to comment? I'll give you a chance briefly, but then if there's nobody else in the room, then we will move to the online commenters. So if you're intending to comment, go ahead, come on up. If you're intending. Don't leave.
I'm Beverly Douglas Loveline again.
Thank you all.
I also lived in Chicago in the 1990s. Chicago, at that point, their utility mix was, it was 1/3 nuclear and 2/3 coal, or 1/3 coal and 2/3 nuclear. I don't remember exactly. And so to bring in Chicago's energy mix and reliability in the 90s, with that was their portfolio, is a little bit irrelevant, I think, to the plan. I'd also like to say that when individual consumers are incentivized to either provide local generation that's grid tied or to conserve, it can make a huge difference. When my husband and I installed 5 megawatts of 5 megawatt year production, we had been consuming 10 megawatts per year, but watching our energy production and use, we actually reduced immediately to 7.5 megawatts consumption in a year. And so when people are paying attention to time of use, whatever, to save themselves money, huge things can happen in the conservation side. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody that has not provided comments this evening that would like to comment in the room? Seeing nobody, we'll move to the online commenters. Let me confer with council here. Do you have a list of our commenters?
We have 2 that are online right now. We can start with Gallatin Valley Summer.
Hold on, let's start with Karen Kirk. Karen, are you on?
I am on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you loud and clear, but it's excellent. Go ahead and state and spell your name for the record and identify where you're from.
Great. My name is Karen Kirk. Karen is Karin. Kirk, Kirk. And I'm from Bozeman, and I represent myself. And I'm thrilled for this opportunity. It's a long drive to Butte. Thank you for allowing online comments. It really, it helps more people participate and with a smaller energy footprint. So I'd call that a win-win. I'm a geologist. I work in energy. I have for a long time. I love math and numbers. And yeah, I've dove into the IRP. I would love to say I understand every little table and footnote, but there's some very clear themes in there. One, a quote, Northwestern is committed to the Colstrip acquisition and to completing the Yellowstone gas plant. Very common theme in there, how much the utility is really hanging their hats on those two energy sources. Another quote, both of those energy sources are proven to perform in extreme weather events. Boy, do I wish that were true. I'm not sure that that Northwestern Energy can actually say that with much confidence. When we look at what's going on around the country, we see that thermal sources of generation, both coal and gas, are failing in extreme weather events. They failed in Texas cold, and they contributed to the blackouts also during heat waves. So the idea that fossil fuels equal reliability is not bearing out. However, when we look at what's going on with heat waves getting hotter, again, in Texas and California, they actually have made their reliability better by adding both solar and battery storage to their grids. Solar has this very convenient thing where the sun shines when it's hot. And so that really does a great job of mitigating summer peaks, which are increasing. Battery power can extend the very economical solar energy after the sun sets, which also times with the evening peak. So I think just it's important to set aside the idea that fossil fuels equal reliability and that that's the only way to get reliable energy. That's really not true. We're seeing examples elsewhere. Talking about climate change quickly, that's loaded the dice for extreme weather. We're only now getting a taste of what's in store. And we've been really lucky in Montana this summer, but look elsewhere around the country and down the world. Our turn will come. We need to be prepared. So when we focus on just 2 power plants, much less 2 fossil fuel power plants, we're really increasing our risk by doing that. We need much more diversity. Colstrip had a big shutdown. I think it was 2018 for several months. Maintenance is going to increase as the other owners of Colstrip start to sort of wind down and back out. The maintenance costs are going to still be higher and higher, and who's left to pay them? We are. So as the CEO of Northwestern Energy has claimed, Brian Bird says, quote, I'm likely the only CEO adding coal to his company's portfolio. So he's not just adding, he's doubling it. And why is he the only CEO doing this? Does he have like a special insight? That's kind of interesting because the whole industry is moving away, even China. So he knows the damage caused by coal. I think most people do. And you can see it in the report. Here's a quote, cooling degree days for the region have increased in recent years, driving higher air conditioning loads. Yeah, it's getting warmer. Science clearly shows that our current warming is caused by burning fossil fuels, and coal is the worst offender. And what are the impacts of that? We get fires, we get smoke, we get drought, we get impacts to our agriculture, fishing, and recreation. Another quote in the IRP says, coal traditionally provided reliable, low-cost energy. I think it's mostly low cost because those impacts are not counted in the price. Northwestern is able to turn a blind eye to the full cost of coal, which include that air pollution, water pollution, climate warming. Northwestern does not pay for that. We pay for that. We pay in real dollars, but also in the quality of our lives and our economy. These are very real costs, and Northwestern Energy is protected from paying them. As we learned this week, that protection of Northwestern Energy from considering greenhouse gases turns out to violate the Montana Constitution. So what else can we do? We can do a lot. We have amazing potential in Montana. I'm such a believer in our state and our people and our resources. In 2015, we got the first modern permit for pumped hydro, would have been in Gordon Butte near Martinsdale, Montana, and would have combined wind energy and pumping water uphill to then release that energy when it's needed, which also means you earn more money from it. Totally brilliant and clean. Why am I saying we would have? Because we didn't, because Northwestern Energy kind of snubbed the project and it's left unbuilt. But now they say, oh, we don't have enough energy, we don't have enough storage, but man, Montana could have been the envy of the region with a clean, economical, fast energy storage power plant. It's a real bummer, a real missed opportunity. And I think that kind of shows our track record, that we're very focused on fossil fuels, that there's opportunities all around us, and we're just missing out. Last couple things. Renewable energy and grid management are complicated, but they are not total mysteries. Responding to the person who said we can switch to renewables when they're ready. I got excellent news for you. They are ready. They are performing really well all over the place. And what you need to do to see that is look outside Montana. You don't have to look far. Look to South Dakota. They, in 2021, were the top of the list of US states generating the most of their energy by clean energy. They tripled their wind generation in 3 years. South Dakota, same climate, same politics, similar landscape. They have now 15 times the jobs in wind energy than Montana does. So good for them. They have a win-win-win of making money off wind, expanding their diversity, expanding their jobs. Way to go. So there we have great examples. Elsewhere in the US, we're seeing things like batteries, amazing demand response. You've heard that from commenters about how, we don't need to run the hot water heater during the peak. We can pre-cool our houses when the sun is shining. We can charge our cars at night. You can program when your car charges. It can come and go and match the peaks and lulls. Technology is absolutely amazing. And a lot of these things are going to save people money because they save the grid money. They save Northwestern energy money. So these are wonderful solutions. They're notably absent in the IRP. The Inflation Reduction Act is spurring innovation and investment with both private and government funding all around the country. I am a total nerd for this. New maps come out every couple of weeks showing where the projects are. Guess where the big blank spot is on that map? There's a Montana-sized hole right over Montana on those maps. We are missing out on this innovation that's going on all around us. We are living in the golden age of energy with innovation and modernization that's bounding ahead month by month. Sadly, it really seems reading the IRP, Northwestern Energy has turned a blind eye to that. And we're missing out on so many options, both for the technology and the economics, and less pollution. And as I said before, Montana has huge potential in terms of our amazing wind potential, some of the best in the world, talented workforce, hardworking people, engaged citizens showing up to speak. The IRP sells us short. It does not represent the best of our state. Let's look forward and learn from what other states are doing. We can catch up. All is not lost. I believe in Montana, and I know we can do better. We need the Public Service Commission to help get us there. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Kirk, for your comments. I appreciate them. All right, so I know we have a number of commenters from the Gallatin Valley Sunrise Group. I am going to call on persons from this group by the order that they signed up to comment. So hopefully logistically this will work. Our first commenter is Abby Boyer. Ms. Boyer, are you on?
We do not have Abby Boyer, but we have August Schur up on our list.
All right. Is Linnell Schur with you?
Yes.
All right. Well, Linnell, you're first up.
Give us 10 seconds.
Is Linnell available to speak? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It was muted.
Is there anybody on from?
This is Linnell. Our list was, you inverted the list. I was supposed to speak last, not first, so we had to scramble there for a second. I agree wholeheartedly with the last speaker that we had. She was amazing. So, she is correct that fossil fuels are not as reliable as people think. Renewable energy is very reliable and clean is the main thing. We are dealing with the effects of climate change and pollution on a daily basis and seeing the havoc that wreaks upon us. What just happened in Maui is a direct result of what we're talking about here. Northwestern Energy's IRP ignores all of the major problems facing us and also ignores all of the strengths that we have in Montana. They're very committed to Colstrip. Colstrip is dying. It has been for a long time. If you have lived in Montana for any length of time and been paying attention, you know this. Most of the energy from Colstrip doesn't even go to Montana. So why should we have to pay for that is my question. It does not make Montanans' energy any more reliable or cheap. The Laurel plant seems designed to mine the customers because of the guaranteed profit deal that Montana Energy has with the state. They stand to profit off of us, not that plant. Renewable energy, we stand to be left behind, like the other speaker right before me noted. We have great potential in those areas and we need to get on board. The longer we wait, the more we get left behind. And we can no longer afford to pay the price of mismanaged energy. Utilities, I'm thinking of the gas explosion the explosion we had in downtown Bozeman a few years ago and what Maui is dealing with right now. Thanks. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Ms. Shorey. You are from Bozeman, correct?
I'm from Livingston.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Mhm.
So is Abby Boyer a member of your group?
Abby Boyer was not able to make it. I think our list might have gotten a little bit messed up. Would it be all right if we substitute in John Hanson right now?
Sure, Mr. Hanson.
Awesome, thank you.
Howdy, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please state and spell your name and identify where you're from.
Yeah, my name is John Hanson. That's JOHNHANSEN, and I'm from Bozeman.
All right, go ahead.
I wanted to talk about wind a little bit. I'm over from Custer County originally, over in coal country. And, recently they've developed the Clearwater project over there. And that's a wind farm in Garfield, Rosebud, and Custer counties. It's 269 turbines, 750 megawatt wind farm that will bring in $217 million in revenue, tax revenue over the next 30 years. In those counties, that's a lot of money. I grew up in Custer, but I also grew up in Garfield County, and it's a great deal of money in counties like that. When I talk about folks back home, or when I talk to folks back home, rather, I hear broad-based support for these projects. It's not controversial. And these folks I'm talking to, they ain't climate activists, I assure you. We have a lot of potential for wind and other sustainable energy projects in Montana. And I think the IRP ought to invest more broadly in sustainable and popular supported resources like that. Thanks so much for your time.
All right, thank you for your comments, Mr. Hanson. Is Nancy Steele to your group?
We're gonna have Daniel Hyman come up next, if that's okay.
That'd be fine. I'm trying to keep track of.
Yeah, sorry about that. It got a little bit turned around, I think.
So
Daniel Hyman.
all right, well, good.
My name
Yeah,
is
go
Daniel Hyman. This is my daughter Kira. Sorry, I had to take her with me today. Didn't have any other childcare. I am new to Bozeman. I'm coming from Alaska, just recently moved and originally grew up in Texas. So I've been seeped in energy and hydrocarbon pretty much my whole life. I skimmed the proposal. There was some good and some bad. So you wanted to give credit to both sides where due. My background, I'm a doctor, which is a scientist of sorts. For setting the facts, global warming is real and is due to burning hydrocarbon. It's plain and simple. It's no longer a debate on that. And really, I came here because I have a new daughter and I'm worried about her future. So we'll look at the good first that I saw on the plan. I thought the proposed hydro storage plan was really great. It takes advantage of cheap carbon-free intermittent energy, even if it's generated further west. And just looking at the overall mix, I was actually pretty impressed. Coming from Alaska, we simply just don't have the natural potential. The sun's not there, the wind's not there. The waves may be, but that technology doesn't exist yet. So to see what y'all have already is pretty cool. There's more that could be done, of course. And this is speaking for myself personally. It's not an opinion of this group, but I'm actually fairly pro small modular nuclear reactor. But that's not really a 3-year plan. That's a 10-year plan where the technology is at right now. So that's something to consider maybe next go around. Now for the bad. More coal and gas generation. You could have guessed I was going to go there. It's really head in the sand about global warming. And in our heart of hearts, I think we all know that we're just, by continually burning, we're trading our kids' future for current expediency. I don't feel great about that. I won't harp on that. I know Northwest Energy is a business. I'm going to pivot towards the economic point of view. I feel that further carbon-based and particularly coal-based investment is a bad idea due to both economic and legal liability. Coal, the machine itself works, it generates electricity, but realistically, given the political environment, there's a very real risk that on a federal level, coal's not going to fly for much longer. So if we find ourselves in a position where the generation needs to be decommissioned faster than anticipated, we're really looking at a massive shortfall very quickly. And I don't think that is very responsible from an economic or reliability perspective. Legally, there's also because it's such a gray area, anything could happen, and that's not what we need. I think that's about all I have to say. I do hope that there is a focus on lower carbon generation. I understand that for the time being, we need to have some carbon backbone. That's just the facts of the matter, but we really ought to be pivoting away from it, not into it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Could you spell your last name for the record, please?
Hyman.
Okay, and you're from Bozeman?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your comments today.
Thank you.
Well, at this point in time, my list is off, and so Gallatin Valley Sunrise, I'll have you determine who will go next.
All right, sounds good. This is August Schur. I'm from Livingston, spelled AUGUSTSCHUERR. I'm here today to express my massive displeasure at Northwestern's proposed IRP. Northwestern's made it very clear that they don't have Montanans' best interests in mind. We're already paying more for our energy than every single state surrounding us. We as Montanans cannot afford this. We can't afford to continue to pay for dirty energy that destroys Montana. I'm tired of the wildfires. I'm tired of the floods. I'm tired of watching my home get destroyed. Northwestern is the only utility in the country increasing its coal production. This is unacceptable. The writing is on the wall for coal, especially in the face of the Held decision, and federal regulations are coming. Northwestern does not account for this. Their complete unwillingness to invest into a renewable future is made even more insulting by the fact that they have refused federal dollars to invest in renewable energy. I would like to urge you as our public service commissioners to reject Northwestern's IRP plan, as it does not reflect what Montanans need for a livable, affordable future. You can be the one who stands between us and the greed and disregard of Northwestern and its out-of-state investors like BlackRock and Vanguard. We don't live in the 1800s anymore, and we can't let Northwestern act like they do. How can they say that renewables aren't affordable when we're paying more than every single state surrounding us? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Schur. Your next commenter, please.
Hello, this is Jasper Shore, spelled JASPERSCHUERR.
All right, and you're from Livingston too, I presume?
Yes.
All right, please proceed.
Northwestern's integrated resource plan is archaic. Northwestern is living in the past, trying to rely on resources and systems that are no longer economically or environmentally viable. Them doubling down on building more and more fossil fuel generation is like the captain of the Titanic refusing to avoid an iceberg because he thinks his ship is unsinkable. Northwestern is ignoring billions in federal funding from the Inflation Reduction Act and Build Back Better that could be used to aid the transition to renewable energy. Montana is being left behind by the rest of the country when we have the opportunity to become leaders, all because Northwestern is more focused on short-term profit than long-term viability. Northwestern is insistent on investing more in Colstrip, even though they only plan on keeping it open until 2042. The plant is so unprofitable that the Avista Corporation handed its ownership over for free. Northwestern relies on $10 million a year from the state just to keep a failing asset running. Their plan only makes sense if your only goal is short-term profit at all cost. That cost is the Montanan ratepayer and the environment. Northwestern knows its actions are unsustainable, yet they're insistent on doubling down on fossil fuels and doomed power plants simply because the state lets them get away with it and because it makes their shareholders rich. Reject Northwestern's integrated resource plan and stop letting Northwestern rob Montanans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schur. Your next commenter, please.
Hi, my name is Rio Roland, RIOROLAND. I live in Bozeman, Montana, and I'm a Northwest Energy customer. I'm a senior resource analyst, wind energy, for a renewable energy developer who has no projects or interests in Montana. So I'm not representing my company in any way, and I'm here as a private citizen. You might guess where my comments skew as such, and you're right. I got into my profession because I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman and an environmentalist, and I believe global warming is the biggest threat to our humanity. I'm also a pragmatist. That said, my biggest concern with the 2023 IRP is its complete over-reliance on post-2035 non-carbon emission sources to meet net zero by 2050. This is touted as the, quote, most cost-effective strategy, but it doesn't consider the cost of carbon and its externalities, which by all economic principles, they should. Furthermore, I want to discuss figure 611 in the IRP as it is completely misleading. To equate 175 megawatt gas peaker plant to 1.3 gigawatts of wind farms to achieve the same 168 capacity is ludicrous. You're comparing apples and oranges. You don't build wind farms to satisfy the worst possible load conditions or provide fast ramping capability. You will, of course, need some fast ramping source, natural gas or batteries, to ramp up quickly and provide grid stability, but using the lowest capacity time for wind And then using that to equate to building 7 times as much nameplate of wind farm to satisfy the same conditions is not a fair comparison. It deceptively skews perception to support the near-term carbon intensive plans. Second comment on figure 611. I know 2 things. I know wind and I know GIS. This is what I do for a living. And calculating 64,000 acres for 1.3 gigawatts of wind is completely absurd. Actual turbine pads and roads built for turbines equates to about 2 acres per megawatt. 2,500 to 3,000 acres is more reasonable. I know it's more dramatic to use the entire footprint of the wind farms to make wind seem less appealing, but let's be fair in our comparisons. The other 60,000 acres of land in your wind farm calculations will continue to be used for ranching and farming. And finally, with figure 611 shows the capital costs of the various options. But it doesn't take into account the actual cost of the fuel. The gas peaker plant will be sensitive to fuel pricing and possibly carbon pricing. Even without carbon pricing, the levelized cost of energy for wind ranges from $24 to $75 per megawatt hour, and for solar PV plus storage from $24 to $96 per megawatt hour. But a gas peaking plant ranges from $105 to $229 per megawatt hour. And this is from Lazard's lowest cost of energy analysis 2023 version 16. You used the 5 days in December as an example of the worst case scenario that you had to go out and buy spot energy prices at exorbitant prices. But as more renewables get installed in the Northwest, something called the portfolio effect starts to kick in, and renewables not producing in Montana get offset by renewables in Idaho. And similarly with demand. Thus, the overall price of energy during those local peak times goes down. Couple that with batteries and a tish of natural gas in the near term, and we'll be able to achieve net zero by 2050, which is seriously in doubt with the current plan. We could even achieve net zero earlier with some real visionary planning, but I do not see that vision in the 2023 IRP. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Rowland. Your next commenter, please.
Hi, my name is Amanda Kautzer. That's Kautzer, and I am in Bozeman. So I would like to start by saying that I'm in complete agreement with the points that Karen Kirk and the members of the Gallatin Sunrise who have gone before me have reiterated. Since they've said them more eloquently than I can, I'd like to share why protection of the environment is important to me and important to me specifically in Montana. So I am a professional biathlete, which is cross country, the uphill kind of skiing, and rifle shooting. So climate is obviously really important, specifically clean air and reliable snow. I'll also add, if you aren't already aware, Bozeman is home to one of only 2 professional biathlon teams in the country and has also been in consideration to be the new home of the United States biathlon team. Obviously, a healthy environment is critical to our ability as athletes to train and compete. Although the summer has been thankfully smoke-free, in previous summers, I've had to leave the state of Montana for weeks to months at a time to be able to train somewhere that is smoke-free and safe to breathe at higher exertion levels. And this is only going to get worse as time goes on. Without significant efforts to mitigate climate change, Montana will likely not be a viable place to train and compete, despite being home to the newest biathlon range in the country and a potential venue for World Cup biathlon events. As such, I would like to see Northwest Energy invest in clean energy and consider preservation of our environment as the highest priority. It is not acceptable that Northwest Energy is the only utility in the country increasing coal in their portfolio and failing to include a viable clean energy option in its plan. It is imperative for our environment that we take action and invest in clean energy now. So I urge you not to approve Northwestern's 2023 IRP. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Keltzer. Your next commenter, please.
Hello, my name is Eva Molina. I'm 22 years old and I'm a member of Gallatin Valley Sunrise. I live in Bozeman. My name is Eva Molina, EVAMOLINA. Dear Public Service Commission, like any other Montanan, I love it here. I grew up in Livingston, swimming in the Yellowstone River, learning about the insects and plants native to our environment. Like many young people, I am concerned about the climate crisis. Not a far off abstract idea, but an imminent issue we all need to mobilize to ameliorate. As I'm sure you know, our beloved Yellowstone River just flooded last year, causing many among my best friend to lose their jobs or businesses. As well, the recent Maui fires destroyed about 100 lives and a historic town. I'm sure you can feel outside that it's the hottest summer in modern record. Dear Public Service Commission, it is appalling that we continue to burn fossil fuels when there are affordable, reliable, renewable options. On your website, you claim that you strive to ensure that ratepayers have continued access to utility services that are affordable, reliable, and sustainable for the long term. We know that fossil fuels will not be sustainable nor reliable long term, nor is Northwestern Energy keeping our utility affordable as they use our money to build new unneeded gas plants. I ask you to please reject Northwestern Energy's new integrated resource plan on the basis that it does not fulfill its customers' needs, nor does it account for the climate crisis at hand. What's more is it pretends that it will be accounting for the climate crisis with proposed mentioning of going completely carbon neutral by 2050, but it does not seem to be actually heading in that direction. We cannot keep extracting fossil fuels, and we must take action now, please, for our future, my future, your children's futures, etc. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ms. Molina. Next commenter, please.
Hi, my name is Thomas Allen. That's THOMAS. Allen, ALLEN, and I am from Bozeman. I have lived in Montana for about 7.5 years now, and I have really enjoyed this incredible place, and but I have also seen incredible wildfires over the course of just a very short period of time that I've lived here. The first summer I got here, 2017, was incredibly hot, incredibly dry, and we dealt with forest fires, as I assume most people who were living in the state at that time knew. And I think the burning of fossil fuels is definitely contributing to changing climate, causing Montana to become drier, allowing for pine beetles to survive more effectively and therefore chew on pine trees, which kills them and makes them into great kindling. So that worries me, that Bozeman will become, that Montana will become hotter and drier and have worse forest fires because we continue to burn fossil fuels in the state and across the world. And I think that we have great options for better energy production in the state of Montana, and it's being done in other parts of the country. And I would like to see Northwest Energy follow that, to use more solar and more wind, much cleaner options that don't produce emissions that are causing changing climate. And I think one thing that hasn't necessarily been spoken about that much is energy efficiency. And I moved here from Maryland, where the utilities were required to fund and back energy saving and energy efficiency programs, and to incentivize homeowners to make improvements to their homes that would increase insulation and doing air sealing work. And I work in building science, and so I see the impact that it has home after home of improving upon insulation and making those improvements to homes and buildings, either as retrofits or as new construction, not only is going to provide, consume less energy, less electricity, but also ensure that homeowners and building occupants are more comfortable. And the likelihood is that we're going to continue to have forest fires in Montana. And so that's going to cause some really terrible air quality. And so much more tightly and insulated homes and buildings are going to be able to have better air quality. So I would really like to see Northwest Energy encourage homeowners and building operators and to build energy efficiency into buildings. And the cheapest energy is energy that's not used, and that doesn't necessarily make Northwest Energy more money, but it is much more beneficial for the residents of Montana, and as far as saving them money and also improving upon their lives to be in much more durable buildings, much healthier buildings, and much more comfortable buildings. So I would really encourage the Public Service Commission to push Northwest Energy and require Northwest Energy to have energy efficiency programming to save ratepayers money and to ensure a better healthful environment for everyone that lives here in Montana. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Allen. Your next commenter, please.
Hello, I am Julia Shada, JuliaShaida. I live in Bozeman and I'm a Northwestern ratepayer. Bozeman has a serious housing crunch that is driving real estate values up and causing higher taxes and living expenses for all. I am a precinct representative, and in the course of the last election, I knocked on many doors where I live. Most people's greatest concern for our community was housing and the cost of living. Retired people wondered how long they could continue to stay in Bozeman or even in Montana. Young families were worried their rent would be raised and force them out. Costs have risen not just in Bozeman, but throughout the state. Today, Montana has the 14th highest homelessness rate per capita in the United States, and 1 in 7 children face hunger. The Public Service Commission is the protector of the interests of the ordinary citizen. So we need to ask, is Northwestern's plan in the best interest of the people of Montana? Will it help Montanans stay in their homes? Already consumers in Montana pay higher rates for electricity than Idaho, Wyoming, and North Dakota. And what is the most economic investment going forward? The world is transitioning to renewable energy, and costs for those technologies are dropping. Northwestern's plan should do more to prepare for the new energy economy. This summer, we are experiencing perpetual wildfires in Canada, destruction in Maui, and the hottest temperatures on record. Yet this plan traps us in the use of the most expensive methods of energy production and the ones that are directly worsening the crisis we are in. It is the Public Service Commission's job to hold the vision of how we can do better. Please protect the interests of ordinary Montanans. Why hasn't Northwestern Energy made use of the IRA funds for renewables? Why are residential ratepayers being asked to pay more for choices that are harming our land, our air, our water? Please ask Northwestern Energy to revise the IRP to include more renewable energy sources. They are better for the air and water, they are better for our health, and they are cheaper. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next commenter, please.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Kimberly Brown, Kimberlei, and Brown spelled just like the color. I reside currently in Livingston. I recently moved there from Bozeman about a month ago. Thank you for taking this extra time today to accommodate the people of Bozeman. We're sad we couldn't host you for the people of Gallatin County to be able to see you and give public comments in person. I moved to Montana 7 years ago. I came here after only spending 2 weeks here with my family as a child, and Montana's beauty really stuck with me. When I moved, my first impressions were that the people of Montana are strong-willed, loyal to the core, and community-driven. Where I come from, people don't really care about each other, but the community that I found here in Montana has saved my life in more ways than one. Commissioners, it makes me really sad to see that Northwestern Energy is taking very real actions, not only with the integrated resource plan, but even their recent rate case to take advantage of the Montana people. Companies like this do not deserve to have a monopoly in our state. A company that is trying to increase revenue for their shareholders, but not give Montana's affordable energy and reliable power. A company that is trying to raise rates almost 30%, which as just an average Montanan, I cannot afford an increase on my utility bills each month. I have to pay for medication, and I don't want to have to choose between paying my bills or living pain-free, especially in a harsh Montana winter. This IRP looks at expensive energy usage like coal and methane to be paid by us, the Montanans, instead of affordable renewable energies. This plan doesn't look at current renewables as affordable and available for our long-term needs, and the IRP is devaluing whole energy portfolios for both solar and wind. Northwestern Energy is choosing to bypass the opportunity to use federal funding to the fullest potential and invest in a cleaner and healthier, more reliable energy system. Northwestern Energy is not honest with Montanans. They leave us vulnerable to unpredictable energy bills by choosing volatile energy sources, which leads right to an electricity system that is unaffordable and ignores the climate crisis. We are done accepting Northwestern Energy's profit-driven plans for Montana's energy future. We need you to protect the public interest and ensure Northwestern Energy is investing in an energy system that's in line with what our communities need and we want. As Montanans, we hold ourselves to a high standard. Stand with us and hold Northwestern Energy accountable and help us hold them to a higher standard, because this IRP is subpar for what the Montana people deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Next commenter, please.
Hello, my name is Aaron Scher. I'm from Livingston, Montana. I've spent the past week desperately trying to find if my friends and colleagues in Maui are safe. You've seen all the apocalyptic images and videos from Lahaina, the deadliest wildfire in a century, a historic town in West Maui erased. For me, it's names. It's Macario, Carlton, Mike Carroll, Lin Shu, and so many others. You see, I'm a Montana artist, and since 2017, I've taken yearly trips to Maui for an invitational paint out and exhibition that brings together the best mainland and island artists. We've become like a family. The Village Gallery, the host of the show and Hawaii's oldest gallery, is gone. It was the lifeblood of every artist I painted with. The home I stayed in the last 2 years is gone. My kind host, a retired teacher, is homeless. The worst was that I learned that Macario, my dear friend, his 90-year-old mother barely escaped with her life. Her tenant tried to drive her out of town in a van. They were forced to abandon it. He had to carry this 90-year-old woman over a seawall where she spent the night huddled on rocks between the ocean and an inferno, a wet towel as her only protection. She survived, was rescued, and will recover from her burns. Her home of 60 years is gone. She's 90 years old. Can you imagine that? You see, think of Maui as a tropical island, but the West Slope is dry. It's a town, Lahaina is a town built between dry hills and water. So too is Livingston, Montana. Like Lahaina, Livingston has one road in and one road out. Both get battered by ferocious winds. We in Montana have been lucky. Last summer, when I stayed up half the night with neighbors filling sandbags to shore up the dike and protect our town from catastrophic flooding, my sole comfort was that no one died. The summer before that, The late season fire in the Bridgers near Bozeman roared over the ridge, fanned by hurricane strength winds. My sole comfort there was that no one died. We've been lucky. What does this have to do with Northwest Energy? Absolutely everything. Northwest Energy can innovate. They can make Montana better. They can save lives. Or they can pretend the 20th century technology is adequate to solve a 21st century crisis. If the held decision was not a wake-up call for Northwest Energy, Hawaiian Electric Industries ought to be. Their stock is down 50% of what it was a week ago, down to 2009 levels. They are facing multiple class action lawsuits are now in restructuring talks. They're done. So Northwest Energy is not even helping the shareholders with this current plan. They're risking everything to protect the status quo. One way or another, they'll be forced to do the right thing, whether it's through the courts, through legislation, or as a result of a catastrophic disaster. They will be forced to do the right thing. You will have to pivot to clean energy. Why not do it now? Why not lead? It is not an exaggeration to say that our lives depend on it. Just have another look at Lahaina and imagine wondering what happened to your own mother, your own sister, your own friend, your colleagues. Make the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Next commenter, please. Next commenter, please. Are there any more commenters from?
Yes, I'm here now. Yeah,
Okay, I'm sorry.
My name is Dwight Bodie, spelled D-W-I-G-H-T, B-O-D-E. I live here in Bozeman. And let me see what I have for you here. Okay, I've installed a rooftop solar on my house because it just made sense. I'm saving money, and over a lifetime, the solar panels will provide a decent amount of without storage. It'll help us supplement the bills. Northwest Energy should be jumping on the opportunity to, as a major corporation, they have the money and the resources to build the solar and storage to the scale that would bring down the cost of energy to everyone, especially now since there are so many opportunities and more than ever before, the government's subsidized renewable programs are amazing. There's so many projects out right now that could be taken advantage of. I wish I could say that I was surprised that the new plan had no intentions of investing any solar, wind, or alternative sources in their plan. But over the years, I've seen them again and again invest in expensive fossil fuels while working to make it more difficult for me and other Montanans to make their own energy decisions. I hope you will tell Northwest Energy to go back to the drawing board with their energy plan and prioritize energy affordability and independence for the little guy instead of just the corporate profits. I may be a retired contractor now, but I am going to build another house, and that house will be completely off-grid and self-sufficient. Thank you for your time. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bode. Next commenter, please.
Hi, I'm Becca Holdhusen, Holdhusen, and I'm in Bozeman. I've had the privilege of growing up in Northwest Montana and now living in Bozeman. And over the course of my life, I've witnessed the effects of climate change in the state. In my 27 years, I've seen snow come later and sparser in the winter, summer heat become oppressive rather than welcomed, and smoke from wildfires become increasingly more hazardous and frequent. I'm frustrated and disheartened to see the ways Northwestern Energy isn't considering the environmental impacts of their energy investments or prioritizing the needs of current and future Montanans with their latest IRP. Northwestern Energy is the only utility in the country increasing the share of coal in their energy portfolio while simultaneously refusing to invest in renewable energy projects. As a state with such an abundance of wind energy potential, it makes sense both economically and environmentally to invest in wind projects now in order to secure a clean and healthy environment for the state. With the recent Held versus Montana trial, the decision concludes that we indeed do have a right to a, quote, clean and healthful environment in Montana for present and future generations, unquote. Northwestern Energy is spurning their responsibility to uphold this promise to all Montanans. They continue to invest in fossil fuel energy that harms our environment and our health, all while increasing our energy rates to fund energy projects we don't support. Northwestern even refused funding available from the Inflation Reduction Act to develop clean energy projects in the state. There's a national and global imperative to invest in renewable energy, and Northwestern has the opportunity to tap into the potential of Montana to be a leader in this field. As someone who has always called Montana home, I hope to someday raise children of my own here. Sadly, I find myself more and more wary of the climate reality I experience living in Montana, and unsure if the future of wildfires and extreme weather in the state make it a safe and healthy place to have a family. I want the promise of an energy future that prioritizes the health and well-being of both the state's current and future residents, as well as the natural beauty that we all hold so dearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter, please.
Hi, my name is Felicia Giesior, FELICIA GESIOR, and I'm from Bozeman. I appreciate that comments are being heard today and most importantly, being listened to. I am a teacher in Bozeman. I teach second grade, so I have the privilege to work with our future generation every day in and out. And with this in mind, I see the importance that our choices make in their future. And so it's not me I'm concerned for, it's our future generation. As we think about our energy use in the future, it's really important that instead of looking short term and thinking about profit, we're having a long-term goal. It's with children, you often teach that you need to think ahead, think for the future, use all the evidence that you have when making a decision. However, this plan has not taken in consideration the long-term consequences, and it's very short-minded, and I'm worried for our future generation. We know the facts. We know that we have a climate crisis on our hands, and it's incredibly important for us to take these facts into consideration when planning for the future. In addition to our generations to come, it's important that we be able to continue to educate our generation, our children. And the price of living has become a big concern for a lot of people who are entering the profession of any public profession in Montana. If they cannot afford to live here, then we are not going to have quality people who are able to then educate our future minds. So with the price of energy increasing, it makes me worried for Montana, and for the fact that those who would like to live here and be able to provide for our children are being priced out. Energy costs have a big play in that. And so I think we need to look to alternative sources to be able to keep our prices low so that we can continue to have high quality education for those who are in the state, and then as well to make sure that we have a future for our kids who are here and who hope to have future generation of Montanan families to come. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next commenter, please. Next comment. Okay,
Hello,
go
my
ahead.
name is
Andrew Cassidy, Cassidy. I'm from Bozeman, Montana. I am certainly not an expert on any of this, but I do trust the experts. That is for sure. And without a doubt, the experts say that the climate crisis is real and undeniable. And that is troublesome to me, to say the least. I do think that largely these problems rest on these large corporations such as Northwest Energy to address within their own practices and policies, which the 2023 IRP is not going to address them properly. The major thing that is worrisome in it is it's doubling down on coal. We know it is an unsustainable and not very eco-friendly form of power. And we do not see any other forms of power that are as effective within this plan, such as solar or wind. I am also a proponent of specific nuclear powers that are not modeled around our past infrastructure that we've used in the past. There's really only one plant that has been proposed and is now being built in Wyoming that is using newer liquid salt or liquid salt thorium, I believe is what it is. But that is years away from being viable and shouldn't be even considered until it is been proven to be more consistent. However, we do know that wind and solar is, and so I'd like to see Northwest Energy start doing that and move away from coal and move away from any further hydro, with the exception of pumped hydro. I am a manager of a small business here in town that relies heavily on the outdoor industry and keeping our outdoor spaces clean, especially our streams and rivers. And I would be upset if we manage to damage them any further, which we continue to do all the time. And it's very troublesome. Yeah, that's about it. Please reject the 2023 IRP. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cassidy. Next commenter, please.
Thank you very much for hosting this. Thank you.
Are there any more commenters from Gallatin Valley Sunrise?
Yes. Hi, my name is Katie Darrow. That's Katie Darrow, Darrow. I live in Bozeman, Montana, and I moved here about 3 years ago, but have been living in the Intermountain West and Pacific Northwest for the better part of the last 10 or so years. I have worked with kids in the outdoor industry as an educator and logistics coordinator since 2015. My job within these organizations has been to create and facilitate programs that bring kids outside in order to introduce them to natural spaces, teach them about environmental ethics and leadership, and help build connection to wild spaces. Through the last 8 years in the industry, it has become obvious to me how rapid and detrimental climate change is impacting all aspects of people's lives. When I first started working in the outdoors, the immediate impact on programming and students from climate change was noticeable, but did not require that we regularly change our course of action due to its impacts. Now, however, it's one of the main things all of these organizations concern ourselves with during the summer months. Just last summer, we had to alter our outdoor programming for the kids due to wildfires, heat, flooding, increased snow levels, just to name a few. And this year has been no different. We spent the year planning trips with alternate routes and educational opportunities in mind in case the Yellowstone River flooded, or the forest caught on fire, or any number of likely and terrifying scenarios played out. again. How are we supposed to teach our kids to love natural spaces when the people they have to look up to treat the spaces so poorly? How do we teach them to connect to these spaces if these spaces are actively burning, flooding, and disappearing? All of this is directly related to the choices that we make as individuals, as state representatives, as energy organizations, and as a community, both in Montana and in the US as a whole. We cannot watch people and wild spaces die and actively choose to continue to invest in coal energy, which we know has a direct correlation to climate change. Just biking over to this meeting today felt more difficult than it ever should. It was about a mile bike ride with the wildfire smoke and the 95+ degree weather. I feel like it's not too much to ask for the only energy option that we have in the state to consider options that will provide us an option for a less frightening future. If we have the options for more renewable and cleaner energy, why don't we use them? Why would we continue moving in the same direction we've been going if we know it will only lead to more homes, more land, and more lives lost? What good will all that extra profit that Northwest Energy will get with this plan even do if it's not even clear how long our world is going to go on for? As a Northwest Energy ratepayer, I have no other option. I have to pay for Northwest Energy's decisions to use fossil fuel, whether I agree with it or not. It's a monopoly in Montana. And as a ratepayer, I don't agree with the IRP or the direction that Northwest Energy is going in. Overall, it's becoming pretty unaffordable to live in Montana. Rent is becoming more expensive. Utilities are already unaffordable. I probably won't be able to buy a house in the next 10 years. Gas has reached another record high. And now the proposal to continue fossil fuel-based energy will give us yet another barrier to comfortable, affordable, and safe living in Montana. I love this state. I moved here because of the access to public lands, because of the community, because of everything that it has to offer here. But this proposal makes it seem like it is increasingly unattainable for me to be able to call this home for a long time. It doesn't really make any sense to move in this direction if we have a ton of research that proves that renewable energy is a tenable and affordable option that really works. So I think that we should move in that direction instead. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next commenter, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Okay, my name is Josephine McMahon. That's JOSEPHINE MCMAHON. I'd like to express my opposition to this draft of the Integrative Resource Plan. I work in Yellowstone National Park every day studying the effects of climate change on this ecosystem. We are in a climate crisis due to business decisions of Northwest Energy and other fossil fuel companies. We have a constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment, and that includes clean energy. This is also cheaper energy in the long term, and it's made even cheaper if Northwestern Energy would use the money from the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. Diversification is smart business, and this plan further invests Montanans' money into a dying industry on a dying planet. Please, please include more renewable energies in the IRP, and thank you for listening to us.
You, Ms. McMahon. Next commenter, please.
Hi, my name is Evan Ramasco Kelly. That's spelled EVANROMASCO-KELLY. And I live in Bozeman, Montana. So I'm 27 years old, and I've gotten the chance in the last couple of weeks to do a little bit of research into the integrated resource plan here. And I know on the top of the commission's mind is affordability and reliability of our power system. I had the chance to talk with Northwestern's leadership team not too long ago, the summer before last summer. And we had a long discussion. They wanted to hear my concerns, our concerns. And the gist of what I heard from a lot of Northwestern's leadership team is that energy is complicated, leave it to the experts. That may be true. Energy is complicated, and I don't have the time or the education to be an energy expert full time. That's what I pay them for. But it doesn't take an energy expert to look at this integrated resource plan and see how bad of an idea it is. It is frankly astounding to me that they would release this plan and have the gall to call it the best way forward for Montana. We've heard from so many people over the last hour and a half about the shortcomings of this plan. It doesn't take into account or doesn't seek to bring in money from the single greatest investment in energy infrastructure that our government has made. It seeks to invest more in outdated technologies that actively pollute our communities and increase extreme variability of our climate. We've had people talk about Maui. We've had people talk about the flooding. This is exactly the kind of mass event that is coming our way if we continue on the road that the IRP sets for us. Reliability, it's so hard to hear them talk about reliability when what they're doing is making horrible decisions. And like, frankly, I don't understand how they make their plans, because their biggest investments right now would be their natural gas plant in Laurel, which is located hundreds of feet from the Yellowstone River, which had that historic flooding. They seem to have no regard for the variability of the extreme climate, and instead they rely on sketchy at best accounting to account for the plan that they've made, including the fact that they've modeled renewables separate from energy storage and called both unusable because they can't work on their own, when it's clear that they have a synergistic effect when used together. I have very little faith right now in Northwestern Energy's ability to provide for us if this is their plan. And I rely on you as our public service commissioners to support us and to stand up and say that this is not going to work. We cannot have this be our 20-year plan. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work for Montanans. It pushes us towards a more expensive and more dangerous energy future. Please represent me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter, please.
Good evening. I will be the last commenter from Gallatin Valley Sunrise. My name is Emma Papazian, and that's spelled EMMAPAPASIAN, and I live in Bozeman. In this public comment, I would like to express my opposition to this draft of the Integrative Resource Plan. As someone who works on a farm here in Bozeman, boy, do I love this land that we get to live on. I'm also very grateful for the system that allows me tonight to voice my opinion on our energy plan. So thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We really appreciate it. Earlier this week, we saw a Montana judge make a historic decision for the state. I cannot help but be bolstered by this enthusiasm for a more just and sustainable future for us in Montana. I and the rest of Montanan youth know we have to account for renewable energy sources in our future. There are several scientific studies supporting Montana diversifying its portfolio of energy resources. Combined with batteries, which, as Evan just stated, the IRP does not do, renewables like wind and solar provide us with reliable energy solutions. I'm only 25, but as far as I understand, diversifying our energy portfolio is like diversifying your financial portfolio, right? When you're planning for the future, you're not going to put all of your retirement money in Bitcoin, or at least I hope so. You put some money in a Roth IRA, maybe some in a 401k, and then both of these accounts invest your money over a variety of funds. We can and have to do the same with our energy sources to ensure reliable and sustainable energy for Montana. Scientific reports have shown that we have the capacity to produce not only solar, but also wind electricity and create jobs at the same time. It will give us the energy independence and reliability that we seek in a way that fossil fuels alone, just like Bitcoin, will never be able to do. We already know that long-term, these resources, wind and solar, are cheaper. On top of their cheaper long-term costs that this IRP, again, does not explore,
This plan does not make use of the IRA funding available, as again previously stated in another comment. To me, this is a slap in the face to all Montanans who already can barely afford their utilities. I personally find it very insulting. Like many others here, I need affordable energy to be able to continue to live here. I can barely pay my bills. I mean, I work on a farm. Together, us, the PSC and us, Montanans, we can change the status quo. The PSC can be the difference for Montanans. As commissioners, I urge you to consider wind and solar and batteries and the IRA funding in this 2023 IRP. Again, thank you so much for your time. And yeah, have a good rest of your evening.
All right, well, thank you for your comments, and thanks to all of you from the Gallatin Valley Sunrise who participated this evening. Are there any other public commenters online that you see?
No.
There are no public commenters online. Is anybody who has not made public comment to this point that's in the room, and would you like to make public comment? Public commenters? Seeing none. Before I make my closing remarks, let me thank you all for coming tonight and participating in this listening session. We appreciate your interest. Commissioner Benoci and I are grateful that you took the time to come out and to provide us your comments so that we're better informed when the commission makes its comments on the IRP. I would just remind you that the commission will continue to accept public comment on the IRP in both in writing and by phone. You can provide public comment by calling the commission at 800-646-6150. Again, that's 800-646-6150, or email the commission at PSC help. So PSC help, all one word, at mt.gov. I would also remind those that have not yet attended one of our listening sessions, our fifth and final session will be held August 22nd, 2023, starting at 6 p.m. in room 340 of the Missoula College Learning Center, otherwise known as the River Campus, which is located at 1205 East Broadway Avenue in Missoula, Montana. Again, that's August 22nd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in Missoula. Again, as stated by our legal counsel, over to our left, the deadline for public comment is August 28, 2023, August 28, 2003. So again, thank you for your public comments. The time is now 7:55 approximately p.m. and this listening session is now adjourned. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.